Welcome to Table Golf. I am Bully,
And I'm Mandy Morose.
and tonight we're going to be talking about the discipline power Protean. Speaking of Protean, you know what makes me absolutely feral? People not signing up for our start playing games. You want to play games with us? Get in there. Go
Wild.
wild. Because we sure will. You know, you don't got to be in and out to go animal stuff. Wait, I'm losing the track. Look at us. Look for us at Start Playing That Games. You can play Vampire and other things with us. Also, pro tip: pick up the unofficial player's guide from us. That's all I got. This is a hard one. Protean's a hard one. We can all agree I did great
You
with
made
the
it
others.
so easy,
I made it
though.
so far, and we got here, and here we are. Protean.
Protean.
Protean is the power to mutate, shift forms, and amplify a vampire's bestial qualities.
The abilities allow for a change of shape of the vampire, also affect clothing, swallowed items, and other small wearables.
I loved that detail. Swallowed items. It's like, let me
I-
eat something and turn into a dog, and then you're never getting it. But also doesn't... Never mind. We could do a whole video on... Never mind. I'm not going to say that either. Protean is a physical discipline. It is a very high masquerade threat. There's no resonance associated with it besides the resonance found in animal blood or the blood of supernatural shapeshifters, such as werewolves, changelings. Those are the main ones.
Okay. I'm impressed. The powers associated with Protean are as follows. Beginning with Eyes of the Beast, the vampire gets a red gleam in their eyes, allowing them to see in the dark and gain a bonus to intimidation checks against mortals.
There's also the discipline power Weight of the Feather. This allows the user to reduce their effective density, making themselves almost weightless. Some uses of that could be allow them to avoid major fall damage from collisions or being thrown, as well as make them light enough to avoid triggering pressure sensors.
And one of the most popular Protean powers is feral weapons. The vampire develops natural weapons such as deadly claws or elongated fangs. These weapons do bonus damage and are considered aggravated to mortals. Superficial damage inflicted from feral weapons is not halved.
Earth Meld. Earth Meld allows a vampire to sink into the earth, as long as it's a natural surface, such as rock, raw earth, or grass, nothing processed like concrete or asphalt or anything. Any carried objects a vampire has on them are left above ground, and while in the earth, the vampire can still sense their surroundings. They can also sleep, do their day sleep while in Earth Meld, but they cannot move.
Shape change. This allows the user to assume the shape of an animal roughly the same size as their original mass. They can only change into one type of animal, and the vampire can use disciplines in this form at the storyteller's discretion.
Metamorphosis. This requires the prerequisite of shape change. It grants a vampire an additional animal form, also allowing them to change their size. So they can become smaller animals like bats, rats, things like that, or big old animals.
Mist form. This allows the user to turn into a cloud of mist. While in this form, only fire, sunlight, and certain supernatural attacks can harm the vampire. They can move at a walking pace and fit through anything mist can. You can still perceive your surroundings as normal and use disciplines not requiring a physical form.
The Unfettered Heart. This discipline allows the vampire to move their heart within their torso. Mechanically, that means it's more difficult to stake a vampire with this discipline, and also if the vampire is staked, they can move their heart to become unstaked and free themselves from torpor. What are you about to say?
How does that work with the rest of their anatomy? Does the rest of their anatomy just go away after they are turned? Like, are they just like empty inside except for blood vessels and heart?
No, they have. I think vampires have their organs. They just don't use them. They don't need them.
Okay.
Their heart is the only thing that I don't even know if it's really pumping, but it obviously is like it could be staked and shut them down. So,
right.
It just literally they describe it as like detaching from where it is and moving freely within their torso. In my mind, I'm like, why stop with the torso? Get that thing in like the leg and like, something.
There's so much more padding elsewhere.
So much more padding elsewhere. But yeah, how the power reads is within the torso. And also, never have ran into anyone who uses this power and probably never will, because this is a level 5 power. It's just to make it harder to stake yourself. And staking is like a very circumstantial thing. Like, people aren't getting staked left and right.
It's like fairly difficult
feat
as well.
It's a really cool NPC power to have, because I think I used it in one of our games where like you guys stake someone. I'm like, haha. But mist form is the other. That's so much better, so much
mist
cooler.
Form is so badass.
So many uses for mist form. Run Fitter Heart is very specific circumstances. This might come into play.
All right. Well, last up is vicissitude. Did I say that right?
I have no idea.
Okay. I just said it really fast.
That sounded really good, actually. So
right.
I think you sounded
right. All right. I'm not going to repeat it just in case I mess it up. But this is Zamichi Clan Discipline, and related powers fall under Protean as a dominate amalgam. Yeah.
So this is, again, we talked about before that we're covering the stuff in the core book, but I did think it was good to mention because I love this Zamichi. Their powers of vicissitude, which is like flesh crafting and things like that, changing bodies, now fall under Protean with Dominatus and Amalgam. So we didn't get into the specific powers, but it's good for the people to know that it also falls under Protean. That's Protean. Have you used Protean before?
I've used it in the ministry setting.
The ministry setting. Yeah, you played a ministry character. You had Protean. But I feel like you mostly use presence powers.
For the most part. I had Eyes of the Beast.
True.
Or like whatever version.
And you had Weight of the Feather. I was gonna when I read Weight of the Feather, I was gonna compliment you. I was like, that's another one I never see used. I remember you using that actually a couple times.
When I jumped off the bridge?
Yeah, you straight up jumped off a bridge to get to someone, and with Weight of the Feather, I was like, oh shit, yeah, we're actually using this power. That's cool.
And using it correctly, because we have played in a game where it was used to try to like do other things like backflip.
Yes,
it's not like best used that way. It doesn't really do anything.
No, that was a celerity power.
Oh.
Someone thought backflipping was an answer to a lot of things. Watch Taste of Youth, or don't. It's okay if you don't.
There's some good parts in it. So Protean.
As I mentioned before, I was a Zamichi, so I love Protean for that. Mm-hmm. Like, I really love flesh crafting, vicissitude, and
I got to do a little bit of that. I took some dots. Yeah, because we had in Taste of Youth, we had friend.
Yeah.
And I did some flesh crafting. It was pretty cool.
Because we started that before
like another person.
This was out, before Zamichi was out, and then we incorporated that later. That was cool. Otherwise, Protean, I like Protean. I think Protean's fun. Although I think Protean's very. When someone has Protean, you know what Protean powers they're picking. You're never gonna find someone with Protean who doesn't have feral weapons. And
I really like Earth Meld. It's very situational, but like I've always wanted to just be like.
That's another one that I check out the unofficial player's guide. I think the thing that makes Earth Meld cool is if you can move. Mm-hmm. So I made a power where you can Earth Meld and then move around, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
But it's otherwise very situational, but interesting. Another fun one for NPCs. Mm-hmm. I remember introducing someone where you guys like got into their haven and couldn't figure out where they were because they were.
They kept popping up
in the ground. Yeah. But otherwise, it's when I think Protean, I think feral weapons, shape change. Everyone's got like turn to an animal, pop claws, which are good. They're very good. This is one that I know was nerfed a little bit in 5th edition. Feral weapons used to be like bonkers, and now they're just... I still think feral weapons is very good. Unhalved damage, that's great. Especially for level 2, you could hurt other vampires and they don't have damage. It's very good. Don't sleep on no one sleeps on feral weapons. I'm not saying I don't know why I'm saying that, but a popular
as far as
one.
like comparing from old versions to current version.
Yes.
Still very good.
Yes. Also, Mistform I think is really cool.
So cool. It's so creepy.
And kind of thematically different. Like Mistform again is a classic like Dracula like turn
Disappear
into
kind of
mist type of thing, which doesn't go as much with like, all right, I'm a wolf and I'm biting you, or I got claws and I'm cutting your throat type of thing. Mistform adds a cool little mystique and utility outside of just straight combat, which is fun.
Also, the fact that you can fit through anything mist can, you can fit through closed doors, like
any cracks in doors, things like that. Yeah, Mistform's really cool because being able to get anywhere, and then once you're in there, you're still like have these wild weapons and could turn into a bear or whatever. Once like it's cool. Protean's very fun, but also again extremely a little more circumstantial to where like, people with like the social powers, the mental disciplines, you can use those
very
in every
usable.
situation. You're not there's only specific areas where you're gonna be able to like pop claws or turn into an animal and that'd be okay.
Yeah. It is cool though that like in several of these situations you can't really be hurt. Like unless
Earth
there's
meld and Mistform,
there's like very specific way, but you can't just be like shot or bitten or whatever. Like you disappear and very few things will actually hurt you that another person could enact themselves. So
I didn't even think about that.
And fettered heart, like
it's a really cool way to like if you want to just really be defend. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people think of this as offensive power, which is very good offensively. But yeah, that's a really good point.
Creatively defensive.
If you're a planner and you set yourself up, you can really be very defensive with it too. Like I said before, no one's gonna take Unfettered Heart over Mistform. Metamorphosis I like though. Be able to turn into like little animals I think's cool. Also more utilitarian because up until this I feel like it just helps you either fight or defend. Metamorphosis is the first time I feel like it sets you up for like doing other things as someone with Protean.
It's also like, I mean, shape change is cool obviously, but the fact that it has to be an animal roughly the same size of your mass, like, it's very limited.
Yeah, you're gonna be like, a wolf, big dog, big cat.
Yeah, like a 200-pound cat. Like, what? Like,
have to be a jungle cat type thing. Yeah, it's something that's not like super weird. Why is this animal in this city?
Yeah,
pretty limiting.
Like just animals the size of humans is not like a thing. Like there's it's a very small like maybe a wolf is about the size of like an average human.
Yeah. I think it specifically says in the example for the power, like, typically a wolf. Like, they expect you to turn to a wolf with this power. Yeah.
Which also, isn't that, like, a little dangerous for, like, people to be turning into wolves? Like, isn't there a little bit of, like, a worry someone's going to think they're going to be, like, a werewolf?
Yeah, it talks about that, how, like werewolves are, like, personally pissed off about, like, vampires having this power and, like, turning into wolves because like that's their thing, that's their whole like
they have shtick.
Yeah,
they're mad about it.
And their thing is they have like a spiritual connection with like Gaia and wolves, and there's these like undead abominations that are also just like turning into wolves for shits and giggles. So if you got a werewolf player who's stuck playing vampire with you, they could take Protean and they can fulfill all of their dreams. And also I know a lot of people are, I say a lot of people, it's just a lot of minority, I think. But there's the Michi, the vicissitude stuff falling under Protean. It makes sense to me. It's like this is the power that lets you change your form.
Yeah, mutate, shift form, amplify bestial qualities.
Yeah, makes sense.
The definition.
I think the dominate amalgam's weird for it, because like what does dominate have to do with me getting like... changing my face, but... Yeah, we've talked about it before. The amalgams sometimes are a little lazy just to make sure just to kind of push them towards one clan. Yeah, to make it good for one clan and more jump through hoops for another one.
Mm-hmm.
But it's what it is. Overall, I'm putting Protean pretty high. This is, I don't know how tiers work, but in my mind, there's 3 tiers, like, and like, oh, those are cool, and like, oh, I really like these.
Oh.
Didn't do noises for a reason.
You did.
No.
I took those noises from what you just said.
You took
Continue
those
on.
noises for a reason. As I was eloquently saying, this is the for me then. This is the, I like Protean. Protean's fun. Protean's always useful. Again, a little limited, a little less like most vampires who have Protean are going to have the same powers, but it's a good time. I think it's cool.
It gives you a lot of what you need. Like,
What you need.
It gives you offense and defense,
Mm-hmm.
which you don't get from most powers. It's usually like one or the other.
Also very thematically tied to classic vampire. Like, we know Dracula turns into things.
Bats.
Wolves and stuff like that. So, like, it's one that, like, taken outside of everything else doesn't really make a lot of sense. Because, like you said, like, isn't that the werewolf thing?
Mm-hmm.
But this is ripped straight from, Dracula, essentially.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of other
It's just
vampire
dramatic.
media doesn't lean into, like, turning into wolves and stuff like
Yeah.
and having vampire claws. Maybe some do. So, shout out to Vlad. He's the reason Protean exists as a discipline power.
I was just thinking about like the nails.
So you're about to.
No, I was
claws
thinking about
on me?
like they always like show like vampires with like really long nails, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that'd be a really cool use. Like if you had like a very like femme character using Protean, and like their nails would grow really long rather than like claws, like
Just real sturdy, sharp nails.
yeah, like stiletto point.
Yeah,
Really
that'd be
cool.
cool. All right, so that's our take on Protean. For me,
Yeah.
where's it fall in your rating?
Yeah, I think I like it more after like going through each of them and realizing the utility of having Protean, which I've used just a little bit, like I said, but I didn't get to use it a whole ton. So
Yeah.
I like to think of it as such a utility ability.
Utility ability. You heard it here first. There you go. That's our take on Protean. Bye.
A hard
so
one.
Polished. My poor body.
Really getting in your thinking pose there.
All right, let me think. Let me do what I gotta do. If I gotta get in a pose to unlock parts of my brain, I gotta do it. Okay, it doesn't have to be a pun. Sometimes just reference the general thing, right?
Yeah. You've only done that on a couple of them.
I don't know why I've been leaning. I don't like puns, but I've really been leaning in lately.
It's starting to seem like you like them.
No.
I'm good at making it harder for myself.
That's true. Hey, there's one thing you're good at. You're great at making your life
I'm
as
always like, you
hard
know
as
what?
possible for yourself.
No one else has done for me. Make this super hard.
Other people do make it super hard for you, and you take this as a challenge to be like, you think you're making my life hard?
I can make it harder.
Watch me work. Watch me work. Glad we're friends.
Me too. Good time. Come up with your bit.
Mm-hmm. And cool if it's a special effect now to make us have red gleams in our eyes.
Ooh, are you gonna do that?
Nope.
Oh.
Don't know how. I know to isolate it for wearing red, and as people who've been paying attention can see, I gave up on that.
And I stopped wearing red.
Unity. You say moth?
Mm-hmm. Franz Kafka.
In the Metamorphosis?
Mm-hmm.
You think he changed into a moth? That example is wrong for a number of reasons that I feel like I'm going to look like a real mansplaining asshole. But as a huge Kafka fan, I have to point out
I know.
that one, it was a beetle-like insect.
Cockroach, yeah.
Cockroach. And two, it was a man's size, so he didn't actually change his thing for the metaphor. I know you know too, which is why I'm more pissed about it, because you are educated in this way.
There's a misform. This allows the user to turn...
I wasn't even done with metamorphosis explaining.
It's one little sentence.
But I was elaborating on how also... So shape change, you have to say like a human-sized animal. So you could be a wolf, whatever. Yeah. Metamorphosis, you could be little or big. You could be a bear. I was about to say a bear. I didn't say bear because you said moth, and it threw me off. Talk about this form.
The moth threw you off.
The moth threw me off.
Do you want to redo that?
Mm-mm.
Okay. I think it was a moth bit.
Because people already fear for your life when you're doing these videos with me. You're... Never mind.
Listen, I have already been upset because I realized... Have you ever thought about like how some people have a good side and a bad side? For like their visuals, like for pictures, people always like, oh, that's my bad side. Like,
I can't take a photo, and I get pissed at you for knowing how to take photos.
I don't, but I just realized that this side of my face is my good side because it's my more expressive side. So there's more like dimension to it.
You have more expressive side of your face.
I can't manipulate this side of my face.
Try.
It's both sides. But I can manipulate this side.
Do it.
And that's why I speak out of this side of my face.
I think you're making things up.
I can't lift this eyebrow.
You know
by
how
itself.
I understand why I could do this, but I can't do it the opposite.
This is my much more expressive side of my face. It's my good side.
Lift the eyebrow you can lift. We're both doing different. Wait, is this the same side? Is it
This
your...
is my left side.
Which side is this? That's my left side too. Now try to do the right side. Try. Are you even trying? Try to do your right side.
My good side? My left side?
No, your right side. And the opposite side now. Try to lift that eyebrow.
I can't lift
See?
it.
And mine's mostly putting this one up and down. Wait. So maybe I can't lift... Nah, people want to see this. What was I saying?
I was just talking about how... Now I'm on this side.
You are aware of photographs. Well, I remember a long time ago, we talked about this in another video. I had to cut it out. I'll have to cut this out too, because we accidentally made fun of how bad someone looked. But I remember it's time for years, you like something went over you and you just immediately had like a model pose. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Not in the fact that it was bad, but I was like, where did you learn this? And why do you know how to do these things? And the rest of us look like goofs.